we're partnering. New Growth is a community development corporation. We're working in our region, West Central Missouri. We're connected to West Central Missouri Community Action Agency, similar, same type of organization as Ozark Action. They started us as a separate group to kind of work on building businesses and opportunities for people in our community. So that's where this project comes from. And we're also partnering with the Ozark Small Business Incubator down there. We call it the Give Yourself Credit program because it's really focused on building credit and bringing people into the financial mainstream. So I want to just start with an example of what we're doing in our region and yours. Moving on to this next slide. I want to introduce Stacy and Larry Poe. They live in Nevada, Missouri. They're in their 50s. They had been working with factories that had closed down, mostly minimum wage all their lives. Stacy was working for a commercial cleaning company back in 2021, and they closed down during the pandemic. They were cleaning a big office building. So she was going to be out of a job, but she said, hey, what you guys need office cleaning. What if you give us the contract? They decided to try that. But like a lot of people in rural communities, especially, they didn't have a great credit score. Hers was very low at 530. He didn't have a credit score at all, like a lot of people. And they also didn't have a lot of resources. New Growth was able to get them started with a very small loan. And in the process, we're able to report to credit bureaus, and they're building up their credit score. So resources for individuals that have credit scores that keep them out of the financial mainstream, and people who want to start a business need some support right at that area, building credit and really small loans to get started. So that's what this project is about, working with individuals and businesses. And what we want to talk about today is our objective is preparing all of us for some workshops that are coming up. Ozark Action Agency and New Growth down in your region in February and March and April. Towards the end of the month, we're going to have 2 in West Plains on the 21st, and then 1 in Mountain Grove and 1 in Houston. And you'll be getting more information about that. But our objective is for you all to be able to visit with your clients and partners about this opportunity, because we want to help get to as many people as we can with these workshops. So today we want to go over why credit building, how it works, and again, what's going to happen at these workshops. I'll hop right into why credit building. You all, I'm sure, could share all kinds of stories every day on why a good credit score is needed, because it's being checked for employment applications, rental applications. If you're trying to get insurance or buy a car, it's a huge factor. Also, as you know, people are very vulnerable to predatory lenders when you can't get traditional mainstream financing. Getting people over this hurdle is really huge to get them less vulnerable financially and able to access safe products and move on to their goals. So here's a great example. You may be familiar, but if you have an excellent score, you can go to a bank and get a low interest loan for a car. Here's an example. Say you're trying to borrow $10,000 over 5 years. That excellent score person is only going to pay $189 a month. And over the lifetime of that loan, just over $1,000, $1,300 in interest. But a lot of people who don't have good credit scores, in some of the best situations outside, just at a non-traditional lender, maybe they'll get a 25% rate. They're going to be paying almost $300 a month and almost buying another car in that time frame with $7,600 in interest. So saves you money as well as accessing traditional financing, having a better credit score. Again, I think a lot of you are familiar with this, but this is one of those that puts it in black and white, how it's just can keep people down or help people get ahead if they can improve that score. So, and also, some of this data, but the data around your region and ours as well is that a lot of people are in this situation. And because we have a lot of problems with poverty and low income and wages. This is a situation that's very common, and New Growth is working with partners in our region and statewide to try to help build credit for individuals and businesses. So here's the goal over the next year. We have some funding from the Small Business Administration to work in your region, and we have a goal of helping 100 people work towards improving their score and actually improving scores for 25. Now that's just this year. We're working now to try to advance this and be in your region, working together on this over time. We'll be doing credit building workshops, but also anytime you could send somebody to us. We're going to have someone at the Ozark Small Business Incubator office there starting next month, where you can send someone in to get assistance with it one-on-one. But again, those workshops are what we're working towards and getting people turning out for those. What we do is individual credit assessments and action plans. And then there are tools that we're going to talk about here that help build new good credit, because that's the trick. A lot of people want to focus on the bad credit, and you do have to deal with that. But what you also need to work on is building new good credit, and there are ways to do that that can really move scores, and it can be within your control. So how credit building works? Credit building is about establishing scores for people that don't have one, or improving scores for people who do have them, especially if they don't have a lot of activity going on. It's about building new good credit, and getting those on-time payments showing up for credit bureaus. And that can actually move your score much more quickly than the paying off old debt. Of course, you need to do that, but new payments is key. And then also having a mix of types of credit on your report. So these are things that we're working with people across the nation that are doing this in urban areas that we know about credit building, and we want to build those into these nonprofit, safe ways of helping people take those next steps. So
I just want to butt in there, Patty. What's interesting about what we're doing versus what people can find online often, and that's why we use that word credit building. Oftentimes, you see on the internet, people can find credit fixing. Well, those organizations are paid services. They often show up on someone's consumer credit report, and that doesn't look good. And then often they aren't complete services, and they aren't teaching someone how to manage that credit over time. So we're a nonprofit, doing this work just like you're a nonprofit in order to help. But that's why we always say credit building versus credit fixing, so that we can differentiate ourselves from the scams or the paid services and those things. So we are building credit versus fixing, although we do teach people how to essentially fix credit as well.
Yeah, it's very important. And helping distinguish that is one of our needs. And again, nonprofit and free service, grant supported. Payment history is a big one. Again, showing good payment history is a big deal. Again, we focus on the old, but new payment history is really important. So we, again, we're not fixing or repairing debt, but in our workshops, we will help people understand ways and outline and create an action plan for them to address bad debt. And some of the key things we know is that you want to, if you have bad debt, you want to save up a lump sum and pay it off, because if you pay on it monthly, that dings your credit score every month in a negative way. So things like that, to plan with someone about how to address bad credit is part of our action planning, and also just guidance on negotiating settlements. And another, as far as also disputing inaccuracies on your report, there's ways to do that. And again, never paying anyone to fix your credit, because this is within your control, and that's the education part of our workshops. Then there's the building new credit part. We've talked to people about how you can do that. And one of the key things is having at least 3 lines of credit on your credit report. So that means you're paying on 3 different things. And you never want to, for example, put over 30% of your credit limit on any one of those. Those are just key things that we're going to educate people about. Also, maintaining, instead of switching around to different places, having a longer term relationship and paying on time. These are just some of the key things. But when we also have a really safe way to help people get those trade lines, because you don't want to say, go into debt, right? We need you to show that you're paying on something. So this is a product that we and others around the country are using to help people show up and show that credit activity. And what it is, it's a $500 one-year loan, and $300 of that goes onto a secured credit card. And that puts 2 lines of credit on your credit report. And New Growth reports your payments to credit bureaus, so it shows up and adds up. And this, especially for people who don't have much of a credit score at all or very little activity, can move scores significantly in a short time period. So that's part of an option for people, and we find a lot of people can make a big difference going there, and that's in a safe way with this small short-term loan. And as I said, reporting to credit bureaus is key. New Growth is part of a national group called the Credit Builders Alliance, and that across the country, organizations like ours are really helping people cross that bridge into the financial mainstream by building credit in this way. So the workshop opportunity. Here's a picture from Fort Scott, Kansas, where we had a recent credit building workshop. Again, anytime somebody can come to us and get one-on-one assistance, but workshops are a way for people to come in, get the overview, have questions and answers, and then we split up and work across the room individually with people. Sit down and actually pull their credit report, review it, and identify action steps about addressing bad stuff, but also building new credit, some of those things we just discussed. And then if it's right for them, one of those steps might be to get one of these credit building loans to establish and get more credit reporting onto their report. And then it's up to them if they want to follow up with us on any of those steps. And they have the action plan to take home with them and move forward with. So this is an example of our credit action plan. You know, having a goal. Are you trying to build a business? Are you trying to get into housing? Really kind of focus on where you want to go by improving this credit, and then lining out those steps. Again, this is just a simple form, but it's a way to, some people have something to go home with, some very specific action steps. And again, the credit building loan could be one of those things if it's appropriate. So again, our objectives for this orientation is to prepare for the workshops and work with you to reach out to people who could benefit from this. We hope to have people at these workshops. We will be preparing promotional materials that you could hand out when you talk about it, and we'll be having social media addressing these events so people can sign up for them and plan to attend. And Ozark Action is co-sponsoring this with us. And right now we do have a web page, and I'll be sharing this presentation so you could go there for the just general overview. I'd like to open it up to questions and maybe a comment from Sheridan to wrap this up. It's not a long presentation, but covered the bases of what credit building is, how it works, or why credit building, how it works, and then these workshops. I hope you understand, you know, who we are and why we're doing this and how we're partnering in your region, but that's where your questions come in. Fire away after we hear from Sheridan.
Yeah, well, I think thank all of you for attending this today.